People often ask me, what is a good boat to get into boating? Well, I think you could do an awful lot worse than this. It's a Finnmaster T8. They build these in Finland, as the name might suggest to you. And these are a really practical, but also really fun sports boat and weekender. So I'm going to step on board and give you the full tour. Now, these are outboard engine powered. So the engine, as you can see, is on the back here. This is a 300 horsepower, 4.2 litre V6 engine in here. That's giving it over 40 knots. It's an absolute flying machine, and cruising therefore 30-35 knots, no problem at all. And your range on these, typically you're probably about 150 miles, something like that. But in fairness, you probably generally go out and blast around for a day and back home again, that kind of thing. It's not really a sort of long distance cruising machine, although there's no reason why you shouldn't, of course. This is a ski tow bar on the back. And that means that if you are doing things like wakeboarding, you can fit your tow line fairly high up, which is very advantageous for when you're doing jumps and stunts and that kind of thing. There's some nice practical detailing, like, he says, try not to fall in backwards. Decent sized lockers down here. There's one here, and there's another over on the other side. Also, a decent swim ladder as well. You don't often get that, but with this one you can see it's almost like a sort of a swimming pool style, the way it comes up and over. That's really nice. What they've done with this is they've brought the cockpit right out to the edges. There's no side deck, so you access the foredeck through the windscreen. I'll show you that in a minute. But what that means is you get maximum width in the cockpit, and it makes for a really spacious area. Another thing that I like is the fact you can see this is all completely open, and that's what you want on a nice day like today. But what you don't want is a huge amount of faff with the canopies, and with this one they make it as easy as possible because the canopy is already in place. It's there and it hinges up, and that then gives you your top and your sides going and so on. And to get it up, all you do is you lift this one here, and there it is. It's already in place, fitted to the bars. So you can just lift this whole lot up all together into place, drop it down, and as I say, it makes it as quick and easy as possible. There's a bit more storage down into there. And then the other thing that we find here is this table, because it's a high-low table. You can fold this out, so if you're dining, you've got much more room to sit around. You could actually fit probably a couple of director's chairs into here as well if you wanted to. But the other thing that this does is it's on a high-low leg. You can see a telescopic leg there, so you can power that down, and then there's cushions that go on it, and that makes that infill to a big sunbathing area. And what's good about that, considering it's not a massive boat, is the fact you have got a big sunbathing area, but it's not taking up space when it's not in use, because as you can see, it just disappears when you're not using it. There is a galley area here, so this lifts up, and you've got, as you can see, a one burner stove under there, and the sink. You can see the tap at the back there, and that's actually a diesel fired stove, so you don't need to have shore power to make that work. That'll work even when you're out at sea. And then you come up to the business end. So what's nice is there's a little step up which just raises this area slightly, but because the windscreen is so high, when you're sat here you're still very much in the boat. There we go. If I sit down now, we're nicely protected by that windscreen. We've got a great view out because we're raised up slightly. It's just a really great place to be, and you feel really secure in these seats as well because they wrap right around you. But if you prefer, lift that up. You've got the section there that slopes for your feet, so you can put yourself into here, lean back against that, and then you've got a great view out, and you can drive the boat stood up like so. They've put a space in here for a multifunction display. That's very good. There's a bow thruster on this one as well, which is really handy. And we've also got trim tabs on here, and this is your throttle control and your power trim for the outboard engine itself. And that curly lead there, in case you're wondering, very important, that's a kill cord. So you put that around your leg and clip it to itself. If you were ever to fall over or fall out of the boat, it's pretty hard in this boat because it's high-sided, but that would flip out of there and cut the engine. But to be fair, when you're stood in here, I mean, this is right up here, it's elbow height. You're not going to fall out of this unless you try really, really hard. There's another seat over on this side. The other thing that you can do with these seats, I think I'm right in saying, is turn them right around. So if I can remember how to do it, that's just sliding them, I think, but I'm certain there's a method where you can spin these around so that they face. You can spin these around, can't you? Excellent, I am correct. Okay, so it is this one here and this one here. They swivel around so they can join the party here. That's a nice feature. There's also a fridge down underneath that one, so that's very useful. So you've got a brilliant cockpit area here in the back of the boat. But that's not all, because we can head down here and there's actually a pretty good cuddy cabin. So the seating just here, and then there's a fixed bed. That's brilliant because it means that you can just leave your bedding all made up, and at night you come in here, you've got little reading lights at the front there, you've got the stereo in here and so on. And it is a cuddy cabin, so you haven't got standing headroom, but it's all you need for spending a night or a few nights, even a week, on the boat. Now that in itself is not that unusual on this style of boat, although the big hull windows are certainly a bonus. What is less usual is that they've taken advantage of the fact that they've raised this forward section of the cockpit to put this under here. Now if you've got young kids, that is a great little den, but if you haven't, these are the infill cushions by the way for the table, if you haven't, that is a brilliant place to chuck bags and spare clothes and all the clobber that normally on this sort of boat you just don't have anywhere for it. That is a surprisingly useful feature. And then finally in here is the heads. That's in here. It's a sea toilet and there's a little sink in there as well. When you've got to view these a little bit like sort of posh camping, I mean it's not the sort of thing you want to go and spend a month on. It is, however, perfectly fine for a couple of nights on board. And as I say, for a first boat, this is all you need. It's very manageable, and it's a great introduction to being on the water. So the last thing I'm going to show you is the foredeck, because as I mentioned, there are no side decks. What you do to access that is hinge that one back, and there are some steps up here. And then we go right up onto the bow, like so. And that there is just the anchor winch, and the anchor then goes onto the roller on the front, goes back in underneath there. So there you go. I think that's fantastic. Finnmaster T8. Huge thanks to Ideal Boat, they've organised this tour, and huge thanks as ever to you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of that one, and if you're thinking of getting into boating, probably worth checking out. Catch you on another one of these very soon. Take care. Bye bye.